All right, Samuel Knickerbocker is a speaker, podcaster, and financial educator. His title of this presentation is Fuel Your Legacy, Make Your Dreams Possible. He is a legacy expert and motivational speaker. He focuses on teaching individuals how to leave a legacy rooted in love, forgiveness, gratitude, and self-confidence. His journey began with a personal transformation where he shifted his leadership style to engage with others more effectively and compassionately. Sam is recognized for his engaging presentations, where he communicates complex ideas in an accessible manner, making his messages resonate with a wide audience. He was born in Utah, raised in Parma, Idaho, which has influenced his perspectives and teachings. In addition to his speaking engagements, he is the host of the Fuel Your Legacy podcast and is involved in various initiatives aimed at helping people understand the importance of legacy in their lives. All right, and here's Samuel.
Good morning. I'm so grateful to be here today. I'm so grateful for Christine for inviting me and having me speak on this topic that I believe is just absolutely one of the most crucial and important topics that we could be talking about. And that is the topic of how money works. You know, it's so often that we forget how money works in our own lives. We think we've kind of figured it out on the outside, but then we just really miss how it works in our own life and daily, or we overlook it. We just don't think it's that important, those types of things. And how money works is not really as much tactical, although I'm going to cover some of those tactical things today. It's also very emotional, and how do we work with money? It's not just how does money work, but how do we work with money? So to help you better understand how I was raised and the things that I went through, I'm going to go ahead and share a screen with you, and we are going to go through a little bit of my childhood, why I'm so passionate about financial literacy, and how I believe that what I'm sharing today could benefit you, why I'm so grateful to be part of this whole enterprise of sharing this summit and making sure that people have access to the right information. There's going to be multiple people who talk about the topic that I'm talking about, money, and they're all going to talk about it from a different perspective. I hope that you get a lot out of the perspective I'm sharing and that you see value in how you could implement this. Maybe that I say something in a little bit different way than what you thought it was going to be, or the way that you previously believed or conceived what was actually happening in the financial world. So that's what we're going to get into today. Again, my name is Samuel Knickerbocker. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here to share this information with you. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We're going to dive in so we can make the most of your time, since that's what we're all here for. How do we win on a big level? Hide share. Okay, perfect. So what we're going to be doing is first just introducing myself. So Fuel Your Legacy, that's the name of my personal company, and then Sam Knickerbocker, Identify Your Identity. That's the focus of what I want to help people with. What do you identify as? Who do you identify as? What do you believe you're worth? How have you identified what your value is in the marketplace and to those around you? A lot of people, they've never even asked themselves that question. How do I identify? Do I identify as somebody who's always trying to make it? Do I identify as somebody who has made it? Because one thing that I learned from studying the Word or the Scriptures is that all things are created spiritually before they're created physically. So we have to start identifying as our noble birthright. We have to start identifying as who we are at our highest core and our highest level of being. Once we start identifying that way and we start to believe that we are that person, we're going to start to do the things that person would do, and ultimately we will have what that person has. But the having doesn't come before the doing, and the doing doesn't come before the believing or the being. And so it really starts with, what do you identify as? Who do you identify as or with, and what is your identity? And that's kind of a big question. I would write in big, bold letters right at the top of my page, what do I believe my identity is? What do I believe my financial identity is? What do I believe my faith identity is? What do I believe my identity is as a family? Am I a father, brother, mother, sister? What is my role? What do I identify as? What are the core values that I identify with? What types of things do I like to do for fun? All of these things are important when we're talking about our legacy and how we're going to be remembered. If we don't even know how we identify ourselves, how on earth are we going to hope that somebody else remembers us a certain way? And so all of this financial conversation that we're going to get into is really an effort and purpose to help you identify your identity, and more importantly, help you to actualize that identity. How do we actually help you get that identity put into reality so you can start living at that lifestyle? So that's me. That's what I love to do. But to do that, I want to dive into just a little bit about my family. So this is my wife on the far left there, Charlie. She's an absolutely wonderful person. I'm so grateful that she allows me to live my life alongside and connected with her. I know that I would not be half of who I am without her. She's always challenging me, helping me become better, and I'm absolutely grateful for that. I'm grateful that through the challenges that we face, we've always come out with one goal and one focus in mind. How do we reach our next objective? That doesn't mean we don't disagree. That doesn't mean we don't have differing perspectives. But when we encounter those differing perspectives, we keep the end goal in mind. And it really helps solve a lot of situations and reduces a lot of anger, resentment, fear, anxiety, because it's not about who is right, but more what is right. And if we aren't sure, let's try one idea and then the next to see which one goes first. My oldest son, 𝐸𝐿, he's there in the center, absolutely one of the most creative, loving, artistic people that I've met. Pretty much from as soon as he could learn how to draw, he's been drawing and just creating art, whether that's songs or music or drawing, painting, creating little beads, whatever it is, he just has loved art the entire time. And Quincy, he's there on the far right, and he is a little bit opposite of 𝐸𝐿, not into the arts as much, but he's just one of the happiest kids I've ever met. And I'm so grateful that I get to learn from these wonderful individuals, and that, again, that they allow me to influence them, and hopefully they can become more productive, loving human beings as they progress. My wife and I decided 2 kids was not enough yet, and so we decided we would have our little baby girl. And for me, her and Paige, my wife, and then Paige, my daughter, they're kind of at the same level of importance to me. Not to say anything bad about my sons, but I absolutely love my daughter, and we hang out all the time. I love being able to put her to sleep at night. I love being able to put her down for a nap, wake her up from her nap, get dirty, messy with her. I mean, just love being around Paige as well. And again, all my children, for me, I love the opportunity to learn from them and to experience what childhood is like again, getting to re-experience the discovery of life. And hopefully, as we go through this conversation, you'll get to re-experience some of the discoveries about money and who you identify as in that process. And how do you identify? Do you identify as somebody who's been told what to do your whole life and you're looking for somebody to tell you what to do? Or do you identify yourself as a creative creator that has the ability to make something happen no matter where you're physically at? What are your resources? Do you know how to look around and say, okay, maybe I don't have money right now, but I have other stores of wealth that I've been building that aren't financial but could be turned into financial resources. So that's something we'll talk about a little bit. But to understand kind of where I came from, I think that's going to be the fun part. So I'm the 7th of 11 kids, grew up in this house. This is what the house looked like pretty much when we moved into it a few months after I was born. It had been condemned due to a faulty foundation. So the people who owned it before us, they tried to build a second story on the house, and it just was not the best case scenario for them. And so the city condemned it. We bought it. In an effort to make this house livable, we had to dig out section by section around the foundation, refortify it so that it could be qualified to actually have a second story built on it. Again, a great metaphor. Maybe in your life, you inherited a condemned house financially, condemned habits, and you want to build this superstructure, you want to build multi-levels, but before you do that, you actually need to go down. You need to dig deep and restructure your foundation, fix all the cracks, and then build up. Rather than just building up because it sounds fun, fix the foundation and then build up. And so that's what we did. Just a few more pictures here. This on the left, this is what the house looked like when we moved in. You could see that we were digging out that foundation. This picture on the right, this was 4 or 5 years into my life. The house hadn't really been improved that much. Again, I'm the 7th of 11, and my parents pretty much Pizza Hut drivers. My mom worked at a small accounting firm or construction firm doing accounting, and we just didn't have a lot of financial resources. That doesn't mean we weren't wealthy in other ways, but when it came to financial resources, just didn't have a lot. Again, not a bad thing. It's just how it was. So one of the other aspects of my childhood is I grew up a little bit different. I grew up believing certain things. My parents believed certain things. And one of those things that's maybe a little strange or unique, I don't know, is we did not get to participate in the Harry Potter revolution, experiencing all of that. And so this will make sense, I promise. But Harry Potter, everybody kind of made fun of him because he lived underneath the stairs. He had this tiny room, and he just was kind of put upon by his aunt and uncle, who kind of had brought him in because his parents had died. Well, when I was growing up, I heard that Harry Potter had a room underneath the stairs, and I had a room underneath the stairs. So I would say, oh yeah, I had a room underneath the stairs like Harry Potter. And people were like, oh, that's cool, you know. And then when I was 18 years old, dating my first girlfriend, she convinced me to actually watch Harry Potter. I was like, okay, you know, this is against everything that I was raised to believe, but I watched Harry Potter. And this was my takeaway from watching Harry Potter, at least the first movie. Harry Potter was rich, okay? And the reason I say that is the left is what I had, the right is what Harry Potter had. He had doors, he had lights, he had a bed, he had dressers. He had a lock on his door. And you might think, well, yeah, that's what they used to lock him in. Yes, but at least he had privacy, okay? In my family, we had open wiring, open insulation, and a little foam pad that 4 or 5 people would sleep on. It was just not the best situation. It was what we had, though. And because it was what we had, every day that we're living and breathing is the best day ever. So it was great. You know, I had a great childhood. I don't regret any part of my childhood. I wouldn't wish any part of my childhood or most of it on anybody, you know, so it's kind of an interesting thing there. But just think about next time you're feeling like you aren't, you don't have everything that you wish you had, or maybe you're not feeling grateful that day, just take a moment and consider all of the blessings that you do have. Sometimes in America specifically, we start to feel like poor me because we don't have the same things that somebody else has. And so we're chasing after having things rather than chasing after becoming something. And really the whole Harry Potter saga is about him kind of identifying who he is. What was he sent here to do, and what was his purpose in this whole plan, and how could he ultimately become a servant of others rather than himself? It's some very selfish moments in the series, but he really was focused on how can we benefit others. So with that being said, that's the groundwork. If you're interested in subscribing to a podcast, love this podcast, had many guests on this, and also if you're open to or interested in being a guest yourself, you think you have a story that's worth sharing, you know who you are, your identity, I'd love to interview you. You can go subscribe to that, reach out to me on Instagram, and we can get you the link to get registered and go through that process to be on the Fuel Your Legacy show. If you want to go to �Knickerbocker.com, you can download my free ebook called Fuel Your Legacy, the 9 Pillars to Build a Meaningful Legacy. I wrote this book to help people understand how to identify their identity. Who is it they're trying to become? How will becoming that bless the lives of the people around them? So this is a huge, huge transformational thing. I go through it every year, sometimes twice a year, but definitely every November, December, just to assess how much have I grown, how much have I progressed over the last year, what are my goals, what are my values, how they've shifted, and in what ways do I want them to shift moving forward. So if you're interested, I'll leave that there for just a second, and then the second's over, we're moving on. Okay, so I believe that there's a wealth crisis. Because I had this passion of helping people avoid situations that I grew up in, the poverty, anxiety, depression, then I set out, went to school for neuropsychology, wanted to figure out how I could help people with that. What I found was that in America, probably in a lot of places, but definitely in America, there is a wealth crisis happening. You might think, well, what does wealth have to do with all those other things? Well, in the research, socioeconomic status is a big contributor to how they break down these research, how much struggle, how much pain, how much suffering is in each of these areas, socioeconomic cohorts. And that's when I decided I could teach people how money works and actually have maybe a greater impact than if I had gone through all of my neuropsychology schooling. Love neuropsychology. I think tons of people need it. When I thought about what's my identity and who do I want to become and how do I want to bless the world, it just wasn't it. Neuropsychology wasn't it. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It just wasn't it. But financial literacy, I really felt like I could get behind. So I went to a company, I went to a lot of different companies, finally found one called WealthWave. And what's unique about WealthWave is they are dedicated to teaching financial literacy from a financial education platform, just teaching how money works. And I love the idea of teaching people how money works because once they gain a little bit of confidence, clarity, and control of their situation, their life gets better, they sleep better, and everything can improve. They get the right mental health or physical health, medical health that they need, or care that they need to become their best selves. And so what I've done today is just put together a very short 3 topics of what I believe are the most essential things to learn about how money works. Now, again, you're going to hear from other presenters today about way more in depth or other concepts. That's not me. I really just focus on the crucial 3 concepts that I think everybody deserves to know. I kind of believe that financial literacy is a human right, and that we should all have it. It should be taught in schools. It should be taught everywhere. So how do we help them do that? One of the things that Carlos is talking about is how that's shifting. Like, what does wealth look like previously? What's it going to look like in the next 3 to 5 years? And I'm grateful that that conversation is happening. We need to have that conversation. What I hope to share today is some principles about how money works that I don't believe are going to change. There's some things that are going to change. How we orient ourselves around these rules are going to change. But at the end of the day, I believe that some things are universal. And that's what I've discovered in the research. So what we're going to talk about is just the essentials on financial literacy. And we get a lot of this from a book that's written by our company called the How Money Works books. There's 3 versions of this book. There's one called How Money Works, Stop Being a Sucker. Then there's another one, How Money Works for Women, Take Control or Lose It. Women are slated to have control over 2/3 of all of the wealth in America, over $30 trillion by 2030. So big, big numbers. Women of all ages need to know how money works. They're going to outlive their cohorts. They're going to be caretakers of more people, and they are just in a position where they've got to learn how money works. And many women actually know how it works, but never got the confidence of that they know how money works. And so that's a big area as well. And then the last one is called How Money Works for the Next Generation. You'll be able to download either the How Money Works for the Next Generation book or Change Your Literacy, Change Your Life, which is another one. But they all are very focused on helping people understand, how does money actually work? How can it apply these rules into my life? So let's get into this. We want to encourage people to think like the wealthy, not like a sucker. And you might think this is kind of a harsh word, a sucker. Well, when you go to the bank, what do they give you? They give you a sucker. Maybe that's coincidence, maybe it's not, right? How much of our money is just going to random places because we're the sucker in the game, okay? Again, you might think it's a harsh word, but it sucks up your time, it sucks up your freedom, it sucks your income to not have money. And so we want to help you think like wealthy people who have the money, have the time, have the income, have the freedom to live life on their terms. So I believe you're worth it. That's a belief of mine, that I believe you're worth it, so I do things that drive that belief, and ultimately I have the things as a result of me believing I'm worth it, and I help you have the things based on you believing you're worth it. So here's a little funny image, but sometimes it's all too true, so it's maybe not funny for everybody. But this is what we call the sucker cycle, and how the lack of financial literacy traps people into the sucker cycle. If you look at the bottom of the screen here, here's the average amount that a typical American is going to be spending monthly on these different things. So if you think of subscription services, almost $250 a month just on random subscriptions. Alcohol, lottery tickets, ride shares, eating out $181 a month. It's quite insane when you think about how much is going out into these areas. And there's nothing wrong with spending that much money. Okay, so I also want to be clear. I believe you're worth whatever you want. And I believe that most people don't have a spending problem. Most people have an income problem, which we'll talk about here in the back end of this. But when you think about where's your money going, it's fun to think about, but like, do you even know where your money's going? When was the last time you sat down with you and your spouse, you all by yourself, and mapped out where every penny of your money was going for at least the last 90 days? Maybe not the last year, but at least the last 90 days. Not general categories, not broad strokes, actual detailed, down to the penny, where did your money go? And a lot of people avoid that because it's scary to look into it. I would encourage you to just do the work and look into it. So to help people do that, we partner with them, and we go through the 7 money milestones: financial education, proper protection, emergency funds, debt management, cash flow, building wealth, and protecting wealth. And we help them review all these areas, and then we educate them on what might be in their best interest on how to move forward, how to start plugging holes in their proverbial boat or that they're trying to get to retirement on. And so if you need help with any one of these, sometimes we direct people to other partners. Some of these things we can take care of ourselves internally. But at the end of the day, it's all about education. Do you even know your options, what that looks like? Now, to really comprehend any of the financial conversation, this is the first of the 3 things that are absolutely essential that isn't going to change. How does money grow? Well, compound interest talks about how money grows. And the rule is 72 divided by your interest rate equals how many years it would take to double your money. So in this graphic per image right here, we're talking about what if you put away $178 a month from age 25 to 67, and you divided your interest rate by 1, 3, 6, or 9. What would that get you to? This is the idea of compound interest. Sometimes people put their money in the bank. They put their money under their mattress in gold, silver. They just are hoarding their money because they don't know when they're going to get any more. The hoarding of money actually leads to it not growing very well. When we believe that we're going to be able to get more money, then we're more willing to invest our money. When we are more willing to invest our money, we're going to get more money back. So rather than trying, and this happens in energy, right? If you're holding on to resentment, if you're holding on to shame, if you're holding on to guilt, that bogs you down. And a lot of the meditations that Christine leads and other individuals are designed to help you release those energies, release it, allow yourself to be a conduit of truth, light, and love, rather than holding on to those fears and those motivations. And so this is just a little example there. Here's another way of looking at it. You can find your age on that left-hand side. If you were able to get a 9% interest rate, for you to have $1 million by age 67, you would need to put in the column on the right-hand side that much money based on your age to get $1 million. Now, some people, they've already got $1 million, and they're like, well, what about my next million? Some people don't have any money, and they're 50 years old, and they're like, wow, I need to save $2,000 a month. The truth is far worse than what I'm showing you right now because of inflation. So we actually teach our clients how to reverse engineer down to the dollar how much money they need to be investing at an average rate of return to actually be able to live the same lifestyle they're living right now, not even better, but just even the same. Most people would go for that. We want you to have a better lifestyle, absolutely. But in the path to do that, we're going to have to find some other ways to make some extra income for most people because most people aren't earning enough to put away enough. And that's why I go back to most people don't have a spending problem, they have an income problem. But once you've got this money growing, then we've got to ask, how does that grow? Where do we put it? So there's three main areas that money can grow. And you can take just about any type of investment, you can take any type of product, service, solution, anything, and it's going to fit into one of these three categories. Either it's going to grow at a fixed rate, guaranteed rate of return, and you typically would choose that in exchange for liquidity, maybe a bank account, a CD, something like that. Or there's variable. Variable is any asset that goes up and down in value. So during COVID, it was toilet paper. It was like crazy different. You never know what it's worth because it was going to be sold out. Right now it's eggs, right? Eggs are way high. Why? Well, because there's less eggs out there because of the bird flu, so the demand is really high. Does that mean eggs are a good investment because they tripled over the last year and a half? Not necessarily. It just means that it's an asset and it goes up and down in value based on what somebody else is willing to pay for it. Okay, this isn't a bad place for money necessarily. It's just there's no way of knowing how much it's actually going to be worth when you need it. So how much of your financial future do you want to be gambling with in that way? Now, that doesn't mean that you can't have money. There's three places for money. Again, you can write this down. There's your sacred money. Sacred money is your bills, your monthly living, your daily living. Make sure everything's taken care of. That should be very, very safe money. Then there's safe money, which you're maybe going to get a little bit better rate of return. Maybe like a 6 to 8% potentially rate of return where you're willing to accept more risk, but you definitely want it to be there when you need it. And then there's speculative money. Speculative money is what we get to go and build businesses with, got to chase our hobbies with, and see if we can strike gold and really tear through wealth creation in a big way. So it's not saying that any one of these categories is right or wrong, but rather what is the purpose of putting money there? That's the question. And that goes back to identifying your identity. What do you believe you're worth and what do you believe you can accomplish? And then let's intentionally place the funds where you're going to get the best rate of return for you. The last box is indexed. Indexed grows when the market's growing. You get the growth and get to participate in that. But when the market goes down, you're completely insured against loss. You never have to worry about market volatility eroding your money or your savings when you've invested it into an indexed solution. That is different than like typical funds that you might think of like an index fund. This is different. We're talking specifically about growth structures, not compensation. And if you have more questions about that, just reach out and I can answer those. But that's basically how money grows on a simple, again, this is broad strokes, but basic, and it's true all over the place. It's not like this is going to change with the next advent of cryptocurrency or how money works in the future, money is going to grow one of three ways. It just is what it is. Okay. Also, taxation. Okay. So this actually may change sooner than how money grows. But at the end of the day, you could pay taxes on the seed of your money. So we're talking about the growth. So let's say you put money into a CD or you put money into a money market, something like that. As you earn interest there, you have to pay taxes on the growth if it's over $10 a year. So that seed, you can pay taxes every year on the growth of your money. Or you could say, I don't want to pay taxes. I want to pay taxes later on the harvest. And this is what a lot of people do with their retirement accounts, is they choose to delay or procrastinate their taxation in the hopes that it's less in the future. And so that's a question you got to ask yourself. Do you think taxes are going to go up, stay the same, or go down in the future? And based on how you would answer that question, you may be directed towards different types of vehicles to help you prepare for that financial future that you're so excited about. And there's really three ways you can be taxed. You could pay taxes every year on the growth of your money. You could pay taxes later on the growth of your money, or you could put your money into vehicles that are never going to be taxed on the growth of the money. Now, everything has rules. There's no silver bullet. There's no wonderful, this is a perfect thing. Everything has rules. Everything has pros. Everything has cons. So again, there's no right answer. The answer is, what are you looking for? And are you going to get it doing what you're doing? And so this is where we come down to asking the right questions. The quality of the questions you ask yourself determines the quality of life that you live. That's a quote by Tony Robbins. And so one thing I've made in my life a point of is asking questions. And so I ask you these questions. Do you feel like right now you're winning or losing the money game? Are you satisfied with the savings and retirement accounts? What keeps you up at night? Is it health? Is it wealth? Is it faith? Is it family? Like, what is the thing that gives you an anxiety enough to not be able to sleep very well? And sometimes people say, nothing. I sleep like a rock. That's awesome. I'm happy for you. Like, I hope that we all can get better sleep at night. If you lost any form of income right now, could you survive the next 6 to 12 months? Would that be difficult? If not, why not? And what would need to change to get you there? Does your income reflect the value that you bring to your employer? This is another really, really big one. Some people, they feel like they're worth more, but they're scared to vocalize that. They're scared to ask for more. They're scared to show their worth. And so they're consistently being compensated less than they believe they're worth. And what's the challenge there? That could be an issue. And then lastly, does your career and occupation have the financial horsepower to help you achieve your goals? This is a huge question. In fact, yes, we will do this. Well, let's go back to here. So many people, about 45% of Americans now, they have some side income. They've decided that they must have some side income just to get by or to get ahead. And so many people acknowledge already that their current career and occupation, they cannot advance high enough, fast enough, at the rate they need to be able to save for their financial dreams. So they're open to outside sources of income. And so one of the things we do at our firm is help people find new income, whether that's by reducing expenses, whether that's maybe starting their own business, creating a business. Maybe they love quilting and they want to make a business out of quilting. How do we help you understand business enough to be able to make that happen? So we love helping people achieve their financial dreams through business ownership, or at least through something that has the financial horsepower to help them achieve their dreams. So if you've liked any of this and you're like, man, I'd love a review of my own situation, we would love to help you do a money discovery. Just very basic, simple questions. What is it? Where are you at? Where are you trying to get to? And then if we can direct you in the right direction, we'd love to do so. So that is all from me. I know it's fast. We'd love to chat more. And again, if you want to get my book, then there's a link here that Christine has, or you can reach out to me on social media, Instagram, Facebook, or you can just reach out to me. My phone number is 385-323-2493. And I'd just love to interact with anybody who's open to that, and just see if there's anything I can do to bless your life and help you reach your legacy.